Lila was very gracious in coming. When I contacted her, she had just been on Fox News. She's been on there multiple times, and I know her schedule's really busy, and she replied right away and said, absolutely, I'll be there. So I thank her for coming, and I'll be showing videos for her in a little bit, and I just want to bring her up to get things started. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rosa, and thank you, Jan, and everyone for coming today. It's awesome to get to be with all of you, and also to get to be with some other special folks that are here today that are special to me. My mom is here. Mom, thanks for being here. and my grandmother. So very exciting. I love it. I'm a Bay Area native, so also my grandma and my mom. And I also love that there are so many pro-life heroes here, especially Valerie and the amazing work she does at Real Options. I got to tour the facility on the Alameda that is adjacent to the Planned Parenthood abortion facility. And it's just so powerful to have life-affirming, life-saving health care there at Real Options right when women need it the most and right in a heavily trafficked place. Is there anybody else here that has been involved in any kind of pro-life work? If you can raise your hand. Okay, wonderful, awesome. What work have you been involved in?
I'm actually adjacent to her clinic. I'm over at St. Juan Diego Women's Center.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And they do the medical work.
Beautiful, beautiful, wonderful. So more on the life-saving side. Juan Diego is another great pregnancy care center. Very beautiful, thank you. What's your name? Christina, wonderful. Well, it's been a huge inspiration, the pregnancy care movement for me. I'm 29 now, but started live action as a teenager, and before that, my first involvement in the pro-life movement was with my grandmother, encouraged by my mom, to go and do envelope stuffing and volunteer work at the very early version of Real Options. And now, it's grown a lot. Real Options has grown, but my grandma also inspired me to get involved in volunteering as a very young girl, and later on that would lead to my more in-depth time in the movement. But what I want to share with you this morning is a little bit about the problem that we're facing, the challenge in the crossroads that I think our nation has right now, which is what kind of country do we want to be? Do we want to be a country that protects and defends human rights, especially the right to life from the moment of conception, or do we see it another way? And then I want to talk about the solution to that problem, what I believe is what we can do to achieve a completely pro-life America, a country that protects and respects every human life, and then finally a vision for what we can be together as a nation. And I traveled this morning. I said I'm from the Bay Area. I came this morning from Berkeley, actually, which is where I live. I wanted to pick the most pro-life part of the Bay Area. So I picked Berkeley. It's great. And I was actually on a jog in Berkeley recently. I had moved back from Washington, D.C. Just last year. So I was living there for 4 years, before that in Los Angeles, again, to do different aspects of Live Action's work, which I'm proud to be the founder and president of. But I was on a jog in Berkeley a couple months ago, and I'm fairly new to the area, so I'm getting to know the streets, and I'm jogging down one of the beautiful, fun streets in Berkeley, which has restaurants and shops and coffee shops and great spots. And I'm jogging by a little boutique, a clothing boutique, and I thought, oh, cute, and I love, for all the ladies out there, if you like to shop, I always enjoy stopping at a little boutique. So I decided to take a break from my run, walked in. And I'm kind of start at the back of the store, which is what sometimes you start with the sales rack, and then you kind of move your way out. And I'm moving towards the front of the store, and all of a sudden I see it. I see this bag. It's a tote bag. It's a very famous or infamous tote bag. It's the Planned Parenthood tote bag. And it's actually in the windowsill, kind of on the ground, but it's hanging up in the windowsill, and it's also on a rack. And this bag has been a promotional piece for Planned Parenthood. But I'm in the shop, I see the bag, it's the Planned Parenthood tote bag. This bag has raised thousands of dollars for Planned Parenthood. It's one of their promotional pieces. Planned Parenthood, as many of you may know, is the nation's largest abortion chain. They commit nearly a third of all abortions in our country every single year. That's 1 million abortions. That's over 325,000 abortions at Planned Parenthood every single year. And I'm looking at the bag, and it has the list of all of the services that they claim Planned Parenthood offers. Now, interesting for me, because Live Action has been doing a lot to investigate, to expose, and to speak the truth and spread awareness about what abortion is and about the abortion industry and lobby, including Planned Parenthood. And one of those things that we have repeatedly informed about against the misinformation that is out there is the services that Planned Parenthood claims to provide. So the bag says Planned Parenthood provides mammograms, and Planned Parenthood has never provided a single mammogram, and Live Action has exposed this. And it said Planned Parenthood is essential for women's health care because of prenatal care, and we've shown that it's almost negligible, the amount of prenatal care at Planned Parenthood. Cancer screenings, we've shown with an evaluation of Planned Parenthood's last 10 years of annual reports that actually the organization, the corporation, has their cancer screenings have declined 70% in the last 10 years. But abortions have, guess what, gone up. And when it comes to taxpayer funds, taxpayer money has also gone up in the last 10 years. And now we pay Planned Parenthood $1.5 million a day, federal tax dollars, to Planned Parenthood. Over $500 million every single year. So yes. And Planned Parenthood tried to defeat the current president. Primarily, it was focused on electing Hillary Clinton, who would be a great advocate for them, as President Obama was, unfortunately, for 8 years, with $30 million in the campaign cycle. This was last year, of course. So I'm looking at this bag, and of course I turned to the clerk in the store, because there's a very kind-looking woman sitting at the front desk. We had exchanged a hello when I walked in, and I said, "Oh, do you guys support Planned Parenthood?" And she said, "Yes, all the proceeds go to Planned Parenthood." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, did you know that some of the services, even they list on this bag, they don't provide?" And she looked at me and she said, "I don't want to talk about this." And I said, "Well, I just wanted to know if you knew, and I don't know if you know, but they're also actually the biggest abortion provider in the country. It's extremely, controversial. I'm just wondering why you have the bag here." And again, she said, "I really don't want to talk about this." And then I said, "Well, okay, well, I'd love to talk if you're interested. I just want to understand why you have it here, or what your position is." And she said, "Have a nice day." And I walked out of and I said, "Yes, you too." And I walked out of the shop, and my heart was just kind of sunk, because I thought, this is Berkeley. This is supposed to be the heart of free speech. And this is a store that was proud to place this bag, a political statement. And yet, the woman who identified even as the owner, when I said, "How are you involved?" didn't even want to begin a conversation, no matter how polite, how kind. What does that say about the state of our country? Where, first of all, universities move on to media, move on to even the shop, the commercial marketplace, move on to politics, is not only completely in support of this act, proposing it as a human right, claiming that it's somehow a constitutional right because men in black robes in 1973 declared it so, refused to even have the conversation. And I would say, and what we find in the work we've done now for the last 10 years, educating people on college campuses, young people in church communities, in the political sphere, in media, that those that most fiercely resist the debate are often those that are the most wounded. And that requires our compassion and our understanding and our fortitude to say, this is all the more reason to support the life care and life-affirming care and the alternate health care that's so essential, the healing ministries that are so essential for men and women hurt by abortion, but to continue to speak the truth in a encouraging but challenging way, in a way that directs people to the facts, to the reality of what is happening in our country. Because it's only through the truth about this issue, and what I'm going to be sharing in the next few minutes. It's only through the truth about this issue that our nation can come to grips with the reality of what's happening, both at a personal and a corporate, a social, a communal level, and then we can reject the violence together and we can heal. This is a collective healing that our nation needs. When I first found out about abortion, I was, again, a very young girl. I came across a book in my parents' house. I had heard about abortion again. My grandma had volunteered at the pregnancy center. My family, I'm one of 8 kids, so it's a very pro-life family right there. That should tell you something. But my parents weren't necessarily, outside the abortion facility protesting. It was more the way they lived their life and the way that they loved us. It was a very pro-life and the very fruitfulness of what pro-life means, which is for other people, to nourish them through their entire lives. And my parents were very dedicated to us kids. We were homeschooled, very focused on education. So having babies in the house was a beautiful, noisy, wonderful thing. I'm the 3rd oldest, so I have 5 younger siblings. But I had my first encounter with what abortion was when I came across a book called A Handbook on Abortion. In my parents' home, there were a lot of books in my house growing up, still are. My dad is a major bookworm. And this book was, one of the many on the shelf in the family room. And I remember I was 9, I was looking for a book to read, I find it, I pull it open, and on the cover of this little book, there was a woman that looked very serious. She kind of had this 80s hairdo. And I remember thinking, oh, this is like a 1980s book. This must be a very old book, like a history book. Wow, and I loved history. So not ancient history, but it was history. Not too long ago, but I was very interested. So I pull it open, and it falls to the center where it had been creased. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at these images. And in shock, I close the book and I push it away. I don't want to keep looking at what I had just seen. And then drawing back a little bit of that 9-year-old courage, I pull the book back, I open it up, and I look again. And what I'm looking at is the image of a child in the first trimester with newly formed legs and arms and a tiny, newly formed little face that had been the victim of a first trimester suction abortion, which is 30 times up to, multiple, tens of times more powerful than a household vacuum, this suction, so it can tear this child from the mom and tear this child apart. And looking at this image, I was cut, my heart was cut. I thought, is this real? Is this really happening? I wanted to understand. I found my mom, we had a conversation. I wanted to learn more. I started to flip through the book, and I discovered that this is real. This is happening. That this is considered a constitutional right since this year before I was born. That this is something that is so prevalent that it's happening over 3,000 times every day in our country. And I learned about the Planned Parenthood 10 miles from my childhood home where I grew up, feeling safe and loved in San Jose, and 10 miles from within 10 miles of where we're having breakfast this morning, the Planned Parenthood facility that was open for business, that had 3 abortion days on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at the time, maybe different days now, but that would kill up to 30 children sometimes a day on average, almost 100 children a week. And learning these things from the eyes of a child, children, and we can look back to ourselves and realize call it like it is. They say it for what it is. They're not colored by maybe life experiences or what adults are afraid to say or too embarrassed to say. And as a kid, I thought this is wrong. This is not good. And as I got older in my teen years, I thought, is there something that I can do about this issue? Because I came across the writings of Blessed Mother Teresa, now Saint Mother Teresa, Saint Teresa of Calcutta, and I started doing my research and learning more. And Mother Teresa was a very beautiful, amazing witness to love, to mercy, to service, especially those that are the weakest and the poorest of the poor. She worked with the lepers in Calcutta, India, and the dying. She established homes for the dying, the Missionaries of Charity, all over the world, which are still thriving today. They have homes even in San Francisco, in Pacifica, near to here. And Mother Teresa, though she started this work in Calcutta, India, and it exploded across the world, and though she was named this advocate and ambassador of peace, and she actually won a Nobel Peace Prize, whenever she had the opportunity, she had very strong words to say about abortion. So this advocate for the poor and the lonely and the hungry and the unwanted and the unloved focused on abortion. And she said at the prayer breakfast in 1994, the national U.S. prayer breakfast in front of Bill and Hillary Clinton, who were not exactly aligned with a lot of the folks here, and especially not aligned with the pro-life position. Some of the most powerful people in the world were at that 1994 breakfast. Kind of like the breakfast we're having here, right? Except a little different scene, maybe a little bit, maybe similar food. And this little nun is at the podium. She's looking at this group, and she says, the greatest destroyer of peace in the world today is abortion. And she repeated it. The greatest destroyer of peace in the world today is abortion. You could have heard a pin drop. And I, reading these words as a kid, as a teen, was deeply moved. Because I thought, look, I want to do something for the world. We all are here this morning because we want to do something for the world, for the Bay Area, for California. We believe we can take this state back for the country. But I thought, where do I start? What's my responsibility? And I realized that the reason I was so deeply moved as a kid over abortion, and the reason to this day, I'm so deeply moved, and many of us here are so deeply moved, is because we recognize that if we can't have peace in the womb, we can't have peace in the world. And if our nation, which is founded on rights, fundamental, God-given human rights, like our Declaration of Independence states, we are endowed by our Creator with certain rights, and these rights are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. What comes first? Life. And this is the intersection, of course, of the political. Most of the great moral issues, there's an intersection to the political. The purpose of rule of law is to establish certain moral laws, to protect people, to enable human flourishing. When people say, oh, that's religion, it's like, well, yes, most of the world religions, the major religions are absolutely pro-life. Judaism, Christianity, Judeo-Christian principles, even Islam, many world religions. But there's something that is deeper here that the religion understands, which is that there are natural rights and laws. And our man-made system, our political system, models it to a certain extent to ensure that we can be a civilization that flourishes. And what happens if we deny the first human right to the most vulnerable members of a society? We establish injustice at the core of our civilization. If we say that the weakest members of society, the ones for whom the law is most meant to protect, law is for the weak. The strong can usually fend for themselves. Law is meant to protect those that are weak, that are disenfranchised, that are vulnerable, that may have less of a vote. The purpose of a democracy is to share the power. And yet, if we turn the law against the weakest member of the society and deny them their first human right, we are creating a society of injustice. And that's what happened in 1973 when confusion reigned, when misinformation reigned, and when, again, the men in black robes decided the conscience of the country and stripped away states' rights and stripped away the most fundamental human right, which was to protect, to be protected, have your life protected. As a teen, founding Live Action, this was the motivation. It was, we need to educate. If people just knew, if people understand rule of law, the purpose, why this is so important, why this isn't just a religious or personalized moral issue, but that this is an issue for all of us and why we can't thrive as a society if we allow it. How can we have social justice? How can we protect those that are born, that are in our need, if we reject those that are when they are the weakest, when they're in the womb. We are hypocrites as a society. So Live Action's initial goal was education, and to this day our slogan is to expose, to inspire, and to activate on behalf of the most defenseless. Certainly there's a public policy element to this. We need laws that protect life. We need to stop funding the biggest abortion chain in the country. That is a no-brainer. If that money goes anywhere, it should go places like Real Options. I'm proud to serve on the advisory board for a group called Obria Health Group, which is partnering with Real Options and other pregnancy support groups to provide more of a collection, more of an identity for the pregnancy care movement and expand it. So it's not just pregnancy care, but it's care for women holistically and for families to compete with Planned Parenthood. Those are the sorts of groups, and there are thousands of them across the country that deserve taxpayer money, if anyone does. It's certainly not Planned Parenthood. In the last 10 years, Live Action has been focused on that exposed piece, exposing the truth of what's happening and getting it in front of people, bypassing the traditional gatekeepers of the facts. I went to UCLA. I know what's happening at Berkeley. I know what's happening at a lot of universities. There's this closing of the American mind. That was a great book. There's this closing of our minds to certain ideas that we don't like. This fleeing from ideas or even facts that we don't like. And it's so insidious because it not only is on our campuses in many places, but it's also in media, and media can control the narrative of what's reality and what's not. What the news chooses to report on can totally shift reality for everyday people because they're not even reporting on things that they should be. Instead, they're focused on other things. This can be a huge distraction, or they're misreporting on something. And then, of course, those that are in the celebrity media or Hollywood or political media and who are their own kind of celebrities or politicians who are speaking lies or half-truths or not speaking at all, just total silence about this issue. And quickly at Live Action, we realized we were dealing with an onslaught of either misinformation, outright falsehoods, or just silence on the issue of abortion and all the related issues about how women are hurt by abortion, and men, and families, and the lies that are being told, especially to young women when they're vulnerable, and the whole skewed paradigm that says that somehow it's empowering to women to kill their children. It's empowering to have an abortion. And so many women who were fed that lie or who walked into an abortion facility not feeling powerful, as the political advocates would claim, but feeling the most powerless they may have felt in their entire lives. Because when a woman walks into an abortion facility, she's there because she's down, because she doesn't feel empowered, because she feels like this is her last resort, that she has to have this abortion. Isn't that the opposite of what pro-abortion self-named feminists, they're not real feminists in my opinion, claim that abortion and groups like Planned Parenthood would provide us? Options and choice, pro-choice. It's the opposite. It's the last resort. It's when you have only one choice, only one real choice. And they're there because they feel that they have to be there, because they can't get their education or be able to support this child financially, or their boyfriend or husband or partner will leave them, or any number of bad things. And the mythology of your body, your choice. Our society tells women, it's your body, it's your choice. What they're really telling women is you deal with it. You deal with it. And if you got pregnant, sweetheart, sucks for you. Deal with it. How dare they? How dare they tell women, especially in some of their most vulnerable moments, their most intimate and precious moments, that this is their body, their choice, deal with it. Figure it out. Do you see how the whole thing has been set up to hurt us, to hurt women? The most natural part and the most thing that distinguishes us from men, that ability to be mothers, that incredible, powerful, beautiful ability, has been relegated to some choice that we should be making so that we can do other things and that society won't have to help, or men won't have to help, or other people won't have to worry about that child. And then the pain that so many women face afterwards, and often the quiet, hidden pain. There was an actress in Oregon recently, in Washington State actually, named Martha Plimpton. You may have seen this. And she was at a Planned Parenthood event in Seattle recently. It was just, I think, last month. And the event was called Shout Your Abortion, was one of the slogans. One of the tactics of Planned Parenthood, besides lying about what they do, besides trying to cover up what they do, besides trying to up their abortion numbers, besides trying to win friends in high places in politics and in media, is to say, okay, well, for some women, we want to channel and win their advocacy by channeling maybe grief they have or pain they have into somehow pride in what happened to them. And so the Shout Your Abortion mantra is really a way to deal with grief. What's the first response to a tragedy? What are the stages of grief? Often it's denial. Denial, the first stage of grief, and anger. How can we heal if we're saying stop at denial, celebrate at denial, and you're done? My heart breaks for Martha Plimpton and the many hundreds of women I've gotten to talk to, our team has talked to, women that are involved with Live Action who've had abortions, who are healing, thank God, but then the women we talk to who haven't had a chance yet to heal. And that's because of groups like Planned Parenthood who are making a profit off of their pain, who need abortion as their cash cow, who need abortion to prop up their business. And then they need taxpayer money to prop up their marketing to try to make their business look respectable, to make their business look something positive, because they can't always say shout your abortion. They know it doesn't resonate with most people. People are like, whoa, that sounds like a really sad way to deal with that. Maybe that doesn't sound so great. So they choose other marketing schemes, and one of them is we care. We're here for you, as they claim to provide all of this care, all of this support. I want to share a video right now, one of Live Action's investigative reports, to show women and our whole country who the abortion industry really is. And this is one of dozens, and even now we're at hundreds of reports that Live Action News has done and that we have done to show what Planned Parenthood really is and what they really do, what abortion facilities are really about. And the reality is that abortion facilities, like Planned Parenthood, are really focused on abortion. And in the practice of committing abortions, you will also hurt women, and you will also deceive women. And I'll share more about that after we watch this video.
We don't offer any prenatal care.
We don't offer prenatal care at
We can
Planned
turn the
Parenthood.
lights
Planned
down.
Parenthood offers abortion, so they don't offer prenatal care.
Prenatal care. These are the kinds of services that folks depend on Planned Parenthood for.
And a president who will fight for prenatal care.
Prenatal care. And that is what we want to focus on. That is what is so vital.
Thank you for calling Planned Parenthood. My name is how can I assist you today?
Hi, I was hoping to make an appointment for prenatal care.
For what type of service?
Prenatal care, pregnancy care.
We don't have prenatal care here. Planned Parenthood offers abortion, so they don't offer prenatal care.
Okay, just abortions.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no. We wouldn't provide any type of prenatal services here at Planned Parenthood.
We're not a prenatal care provider.
No Planned Parenthood does prenatal care.
We don't offer prenatal care at Planned Parenthood.
We specialize in abortions. You know, that's what our ultrasounds are for, to see how far along the patient is.
Planned Parenthood, we do birth control, things like that, termination. We check for STI, but we don't do prenatal.
We tell you you're pregnant, and we also attempt to do the abortions.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't do any prenatal services
No
here.
prenatal.
No, we don't do prenatal services. I mean, it's called Planned Parenthood. I know it's kind of deceiving.
Do you have OBGYNs here?
We do not, no.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which is a deceptive name, right? I think the same thing.
Or, if you were looking into termination options, we can do that as well.
Did you know that Planned Parenthood can take care of all your reproductive health needs? Whether it's an annual exam, pregnancy testing and counseling, prenatal care, we are here for you with high-quality, low-cost services.
Thank you for holding. This is... How can I help you?
Hi.
I was wondering if you guys offered prenatal care?
No, we don't. Not at the moment. Neither our Hampton or Richmond office does.
We don't offer any prenatal care.
Is there any other clinic you can refer me to?
I don't know of anything. I would look around on the internet.
You can try CareNet. I think they do prenatal care.
CareNet?
It's the first building on this strip here.
We only offer family planning services and abortion services.
Not at all at Planned Parenthood.
Okay, so not at any Planned Parenthood. They don't have prenatal
Correct.
care.
No, see, we don't see pregnant women as a way of giving prenatal care.
Okay.
We see pregnant women, if they are considering other options.
Like what other options? Like would you see the doctor for?
At this location?
Yes.
So at this location, you guys do medication abortion?
What pregnancy services do you offer?
We only offer termination services.
We actually don't offer prenatal services. We're not licensed to do so in Oregon or Washington.
Do any of the Planned Parenthoods?
No, we do not offer any prenatal care.
And again, this is that part of the expose that is so important. How do we deal with the problem? How do we deal with the problem of all the lies, of all the woundedness? The first step is to expose. How exposing is done is important. Live Action, a lot of what we do focuses on, again, becoming the media, being creating our own platform. We have the largest online following for the pro-life movement. So we have over 2.5 million people following us online, specifically connected with the Live Action brand. And then we have up to 25 million video views a week, 5 to 25 million depending on what we're putting out that week. But that is the response to all of the other powerful gatekeepers of information, the mainstream media, politicians, Hollywood. It's a growing response. That's the power of social media as well. Social media is this new tool in the last 10 years that has transformed even the political discussion. I mean, look what the president is doing, using Twitter as his primary way to get the message out. For better and for worse, that's what he's doing. And people can know directly what he's thinking about anyways, all different times of the day on Twitter. It's not through the mainstream media filter. And Live Action uses the power of online media, having our own news website, having our own platforms to reach people. And then it's how we reach them, the power of visual media, showing them videos. One of the powerful tools we use as well is descriptions, medical animations of the abortion procedures, narrated by former abortionists. So showing actually what happens during an abortion, but doing it in a way that is very technically accurate. It's a medical animation, so it's not the graphic imaging, but it shows enough what happens to the child. The videos we released showing the most prevalent abortion procedures last year are now at a combined over 100 million views. And the response we get from those is incredible. People saying, this changed my mind on abortion. I had no idea. We've had people saying, oh my gosh, I was scheduled to have an abortion. And our team communicates with this person online. We've connected them with some pregnancy support services and after birth services and women who have chosen life after viewing those videos. So it's an incredible thing to see what that truth can do, what truth can do. When it's done in a way that is hopeful, it connects people to healing or connects people to ways to care for their children or resources. When it's exposed, as I said, expose, inspire, activate, when it's inspiring, when it says life is valuable and precious. A lot of our videos and stories are the stories of brave moms who've chosen life, the stories of conversion, people who have changed their minds on abortion, the stories of children who were born against the odds or who struggled against the odds. Maybe they had a disability and they were encouraged, their moms were encouraged to abort, but their mom said, no, this is a child with that's precious. This child is a gift, is not a threat, not a negative thing, but a gift, and we're going to protect this child's right to life and give this child a chance. Those stories are so powerful to tell people that, yes, we're fighting a great evil, we're fighting a great wound, but we're also proclaiming a beautiful, a great good, a beautiful story of what human life is, of the value of every human life. I said that I was going to tell you not just about the solution, but about the vision of what our country can be. And I firmly believe that through exposing and inspiring, through educating, especially young people, especially women who are reproductive age, millennial women, teen girls, when we educate them about the value of life, including the value of their lives, it's the value of women, it's the value of being a mom, of being a woman, it's the value of every human life, of the value of children, the role that fathers play. We do a lot of reporting on the power that a man has to encourage and to protect and to support. When we do that, people change. They're given another way to look at this entirely. And that is what is already, I believe, written in the human heart. I believe the moral law, the natural law is written in the human heart. And love, that desire for life and that desire to give and that desire to see value in others is written in our hearts. That's why I believe the pro-life movement has this incredible opportunity to not only fight abortion and stop abortions and save lives, but to proclaim something universally true about all of us, which is that life is good, that it's a blessing, that we are all born with potential and a purpose, that we are given our lives by God for a purpose, that there's something good here. And that's the activate piece of what live action does. Expose, inspire, activate. Saying you too can stand up for life. You too can either get healing or resources or become part of the movement to educate, to pray outside of abortion facilities, to get involved in ministries, to get involved in education. And it's a whole lifelong that we're fighting for. It's not just before birth, but it's after birth. So any ministry that is proclaiming the good of the person, defending the good of the person, that's pro-life. That's what we can encourage people towards and unite all of this compassion that many people have to say, we want to proclaim that compassion, that protecting human life at all stages. It just has to start in the womb. And that I too see as a way to build bridges between political ideologies and identities and say, look, you might say you care about human life here. Let's all care about human life everywhere and start in the womb. It's a powerful, unifying message that when we speak it boldly and when we reach people in creative ways and we fight back against the lies on the political front, while at the same time inspiring people about the vision of how beautiful life is, we can call people to take action, call people to join the movement. I believe that we can achieve a whole different America if we are focused on educating, especially on reaching young people and women, young women. We can achieve a country that rejects abortion, that sees it as the violence that it is, and that sees life, all life, as precious. I want to share one other video with you as a sample of what I'm describing to show people's minds changing. Live action, we go to the streets of major cities as part of a research campaign we're doing for a future upcoming marketing campaign, basically to show in cities across this country through online, but also through billboards, through TV and print, through sponsorships and through friends in both media and in politics, because there are many people who are pro-life. They just need to be emboldened to show them that pro-life is actually the way to be, that it's something that it unites all of us and that we all can be. And this is a sample of people having that aha moment.
Would you consider yourself pro-life, pro-choice, or neither?
Pro-choice. Would you restrict it at any point?
No.
No. So all the way up until
All the way
birth.
up. It's rough.
Do you think now, watching this and from what you just said, do you still
changes.
support once up to birth?
No. I don't think I support it, period.
I think the person should have a choice to have an abortion or not. Wow, it's brutal.
Does it change your mind at all?
It really did. Yeah. So, abortion shouldn't be legal.
It's your life, so it's your choice. And if you believe that that you don't want to have the baby, then it's your choice. So I'm pro-choice, I guess. I didn't realize that the baby was, doing that kind of stuff at such an early stage.
Does this change your mind at all about abortion?
Yeah. I believe that's like murder right there, what I saw.
My opinion is that it should be part of the woman's right to choose whether or not to abort her baby.
One word, your thoughts on what you just saw.
Inhumane or heinous, yeah. It does change my mind. Like, a lot of people just say, oh, like, abortion's okay, or it should be okay, but then I feel like a lot of us we're not really aware of what's the process of it and what's actually happening.
Would you consider yourself pro-life, pro-choice, or neither?
I would say pro-choice, definitely. I would consider myself. That was questionable. I didn't really realize. Yeah, that's how. A little more iffy for me. I don't know either way at the time. Okay. But definitely more controversial than my initial opinion.
If the women don't have the ability to be responsible for the child, it's maybe the best choice for her to do the abortion.
Kind of agree with her. I think it's people's freedom to choose whether they should have the children. I think it's so unhuman, and it's like changed my mind about abortion.
Yeah, I changed my mind completely.
And what are your thoughts about abortion?
I'm definitely all for it if it's choice. That changes my views.
If I was pregnant, I would have to get an abortion. I don't know if it's changed my mind, but maybe it has. Because I don't think I would perform an abortion, honestly, watching these videos.
Do you support aborting the child if it was in a case of incest?
Yeah. I don't care what you're going through. Even if it's incest, don't abort the baby.
In the times that we live in, we gotta understand sometimes people have difficulty being able to raise children. I guess now my perception's changed a little bit. I sort of had this idea that first trimester everything's just kind of getting there, and second trimester baby's formed, but to see that a baby had already been formed early on is quite difficult to watch.
Well, this is just the beginning. You saw the tip of the iceberg, but everyone that you saw in that video is also tens and hundreds of thousands of people online having that encounter, watching those videos that are being deeply, deeply moved. And we're all here. This is the Republican women of Silicon Valley and gentlemen. And we can say for the state of California and for the Republican Party, for those that are standing up and saying we are the leaders of the Republican Party, that if you can be true to that first human right, to life, if you can fight for life unabashedly, and we can keep it in our platform, and I know there's delegates here from California that have gone to the committee, the National Convention, and have fought to keep that in the platform. I know one of the ladies in Southern California, I know others here in the Bay Area. We continue to fight, not only just to keep it in the platform for the Republican Party, but to lead with it, and to share the bigger vision of what it means. It's not just fighting against something, it's fighting for someone, many someones, fighting for everyone who is precious, who deserves the right to life, who is worthy of protection and love. I'd love to answer some questions now if you guys would like, and thank you so much again for having me this morning. Yes. What's your name?
My name?
Yes.
Maven.
Maven.
And in the write-up, it said that your Twitter account was terminated. Is that still true?
So to clarify, and actually just when I was here, I was sending emails to our legal team about Twitter. So Twitter froze all of Live Action's advertising accounts. I mentioned the importance of marketing and advertising, and that's something that we do to reach more people. And so we actually sent, this is exclusive information, so it's likely going to be coming out in the Washington Post in the next 48 hours, but we actually sent a demand letter to Twitter last week saying that it's time to reinstate the accounts, Twitter, and this violates your own advertising policy, that we had a relationship with you, a business relationship, and you've violated what your own advertising policy says to choose to unfairly suppress the live action viewpoint while allowing Planned Parenthood to advertise. Planned Parenthood, of course, is using some of everybody's taxpayer money here in the room to do advertising. So Twitter right now, we're fighting that, and I will keep you posted. And if you follow Live Action online and on our Facebook, on YouTube, on our email, then you'll definitely get updates about the ensuing Twitter fight.
Yes. Hi, my name is Linda Hilson. I received an email, I guess it's from you, regarding defunding Planned Parenthood. And it's telling me, and whoever you sent it to call our 2 U.S. senators and tell them to vote for the Graham-Cassidy reconciliation bill, which ends Planned Parenthood taxpayer funding.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So again, Live Action, we send alerts to several 100,000 people, sometimes weekly. Please sign up. You got the alert. Please call if you haven't already. This may be our last chance this year to defund Planned Parenthood. We're waiting for this to happen and have been all year. And I was in D.C. last month. I'll be in D.C. next month, meeting with senators, meeting with members in the House. And we are very close to stopping the forced taxpayer funding of Planned Parenthood in the majority. So that means we would block the Medicaid reimbursement money that Planned Parenthood receives. The Graham-Cassidy bill, reconciliation bill, is a process that avoids, getting a little technical here, but avoids the Senate filibuster. So right now, because the Senate is very locked, we just have a few votes that by a hair maintain a Republican majority, but we need basically a supermajority to defend against a filibuster, which would stop a bill from cleanly going through to stop funding Planned Parenthood. So there's another vehicle to defund Planned Parenthood using the reconciliation process where you do not need the supermajority in the Senate. And that is our last chance this year likely to achieve avoiding that filibuster this year. So we need to be calling senators, especially the Senate, because we can't really do much in California there's a couple senators that are very much on the brink. McCaskill's one of them McCain is unfortunately one of them that are kind of holding out, but we're hopeful that they will not hold out and we will get the thing through. Yes. Great question. So there's a website that's called getyourcare.org, or .com.org, I think both work, and it basically has all the alternate federally qualified health centers that can receive the Medicaid money, because it's really a question about Medicaid patients or Medicaid clients. And so it's a question for these lower income women, they say, that can't get care. So the first note is, how do you find care? And there are 13,000 federally qualified health centers, of which multiple thousands of those, which outnumber Planned Parenthood, provide more holistic care than Planned Parenthood provides. Planned Parenthood is a big marketing scheme. It's a big brand, a big fat brand that they've built for 100 years now. And the question is, well, what do they actually do then? They do abortions. They're the biggest abortion chain. They hand out a lot of hormonal contraceptive. They claim to be sex educators and help women manage fertility. They don't teach women about fertility. They don't teach young girls about their bodies. They don't teach values-based sex education. They teach this is contraception, especially hormonal contraception, that gets in the way of your hormonal cycle and stops it, basically. And that's what they propose to women as a way to deal with their, manage their fertility. So it's a very narrow-minded, big pharma way to do it. And then, of course, abortion, as you said, they provide, and they, one of the things they list on their tote bag, for example, are cancer screenings. Unfortunately, their cancer screenings, as I said, have declined in the last 10 years, dramatically. So the cancer screenings they may have done 10 years ago, many of them they're not doing anymore. And then STI testing, the same with STI testing. So when you look at it, they're basically trying to build a model around abortion, because you can't technically reimburse at the federal level for abortion through Medicaid. You can do it at the state level. You can do it in California, but you can't do it at the federal level. So they're padding their abortions, which are the most cost-accruing item that they provide, service that they provide, with things like STI testing, or maybe birth control pills, or maybe some pap tests, or 1 out of every 25 clinics, maybe a prenatal service, so that they can say that they do these other things, and that they can create income streams in a cheap, easy way for padding their corporation and the heart of their corporation, which is abortion. There's a great live action video called The 3% Myth, which is online. I highly recommend it. It actually breaks down their own numbers and shows how they basically built this business model around abortion to protect and promote and increase abortions while misleading people about the other services that they provide. Okay. So a couple of things. First of all, there is a Hyde Amendment, thankfully, that prohibits money directly reimbursing federal money for abortion. The reality is at the state level in California, we are spending untold amount of money, definitely in the tens of millions, on reimbursing for abortion, including very late-term abortion. So that doesn't stop state reimbursements. And what Hyde Amendment doesn't do is stop money to flow to abortion providers. So imagine a steakhouse which says, we do not have taxpayer money for steak, we provide steaks, but they're getting taxpayer money to pay for all the condiments, and they're getting taxpayer money to pay for all the side dishes, because they can get tax money to pay for the ultrasound before the abortion. They can, that you have to do to determine the gestation, to determine which abortion to do of the baby. They can get taxpayer money to reimburse for the pregnancy test that they do to confirm pregnancy. They can get taxpayer money to provide for the woman after to do the options counseling they claim that they do. So they pad the service so that they can make a premium, ultimately, make more money on it. And your other question was, why wouldn't we see California? California, as you may know, is a two-party consent state. So live action largely avoids doing recordings where both parties are not consenting to it. Otherwise, there's some gray area. Our friends at Center for Medical Progress who've done amazing work, they made sure that when they did investigative reporting, they did it in a more public place, right, in a restaurant or in a more open venue. So with a phone call, like the video that you saw, we were obviously not telling the Planned Parenthood representatives, we're recording you right now for a live action investigative video. We would not have gotten a straight answer out of them if we had. Yes, sir. So it's a good question. So the founding of Planned Parenthood, as many of you may know, Margaret Sanger founded Planned Parenthood in the early 20th century as a eugenicist. So she strongly believed in eugenics, this idea that we can create a cleaner race. Some people shouldn't procreate, especially those that are of not intellectual abilities that she thought were worthy of procreating, certain ethnic groups, minorities, those that were poor. And originally, Planned Parenthood focused on sterilization, actually, including some forced sterilizations when they were founded. And to this day, they promote sterilization. They promote, primarily abortion, though, is their tool of choice since it became like. So Live Action did do an investigation, which you might be referencing, showing that Planned Parenthood did have and has had special funds that target minority women for abortion. Because the abortion rate in the black community is up to, a black woman is up to 5 times more likely to have an abortion than a white woman. And the rate is almost as high in the Latina community. So it's definitely a focus of abortion facilities to target minorities for abortions. Yes. Yes, it's a good question. What's the most effective way to show, for example, the abortion procedures videos? And the website is liveaction.org and abortionprocedures.com. to access the medical animations narrated by a former abortionist who changed his life from being an abortionist to being pro-life. And so it's abortion procedures, abortionprocedures.com, liveaction.org is our website. They link to each other. And, it depends. Everybody is different. So you're going to have, if you're sharing this with someone on a personal level, if they're a young person, every conversation is going to be different. If you know someone who is maybe in support of abortion, you can say, do you know what abortion really is? Do you know what happens during an abortion? And would you be willing to, to talk about it more with me or learn more about it and get them to give you permission, maybe? And then you could say, this is a video that is actually made by a former abortion doctor, and he's actually explaining it. It's not super graphic. It just explains what actually happens, and just a very straightforward approach, kind, and of course not forcing it on them, can be very powerful. But every relationship is different. Every person is different, so I really encourage you to just practice the general principles of being patient, being a good listener, asking questions, and really loving people at a friend level, because that's the first step to ultimately engaging them in a deep conversation about something so intense and difficult for many people. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you, Lila.